So I have my first accent client. Now what do I do? I'm Barb Christensen from Speech Advantage, and I am the owner of Speech Advantage, founded in 1999. And before that, I did a lot of the traditional speech pathology work, mostly in the medical facilities. And in 1999, I transitioned to corporate speech pathology. And then maybe in the mid 2000s, I transitioned to, I don't want to do that anymore. I only want to do accent reduction. So that's all I'm doing now. And in 2013 is when Accent Freedom came out. So Accent Freedom is a accent reduction software program that can make things easier for you as you're working with your clients. I have like I said, a background in speech pathology from undergrad from Iowa State and then master's from Truman State. And I currently live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We're going to start off with some basic questions here. So what accent reduction is? Accent reduction is working with people who speak English as their second language to improve their English clarity. I think we all knew that. It can also be called accent modification, accent management, accent neutralization. There's any of those names are perfectly fine. Some people prefer one name or the other. Accent reduction is probably the oldest term, and maybe not as accepted as some of the others, but I'm kind of old school and that's what I started calling it. And so it's hard for me to change. So we'll be calling it accent reduction during this presentation, but any of the others are perfectly acceptable. What accent reduction is not? It is not accent elimination. So if you see someone advertising that we are going to use this to get rid of your accent, to eliminate it, buyer beware. There's really, it's unrealistic to think that somebody could get rid of their accent, completely eliminate it in the short time that we're working with them. Our goal is really to reduce the accent and make it so they can be more understandable. It's not to totally take away the accent. It's just so they can have clear speech when they're communicating. Accent reduction is not a medical diagnosis. So there's no ICD-9 code. It's not medical at all. So because it's not medical, it's not covered by insurance. It's a something that is a personal choice, whether they want to do this. It's optional. It's not right for everyone, but a lot of people do want this to help them improve their English. Last thing here, when we transition to this, we have to change the terminology. So we do not work with patients anymore. We work with clients. We do not do therapy because therapy implies that there's something wrong. We do training. And we are not clinicians or therapists. We now are trainers or consultants. So it's very important to change that terminology when you're talking to potential clients or managers or people in the business world who might be buying your services. So it's not anything to do medically. There's nothing wrong with these people. It's a optional training that they can do. An overview of today's presentation. Some of this is going to move very fast because I really want to get to more of the in-depth information. So I'm going to do an overview of Accent Freedom. This is the system that I'm going to be showing you today. Like I said, I'm the owner of it. There are other systems out there, but this is what I put together in 2013. And I think it really benefits both the trainer as well as the clients who are using the system. First, we'll show you the initial assessment and how to do this, and then we'll get into a little bit about the training, how to structure the training, and how to actually conduct the training sessions. Then we'll talk briefly about the final assessments, and then we'll get into documentation, report writing, and invoicing, And at the end, we will do a Q&A. Some basics about accent freedom. If you can think of accent reduction or accent freedom as a training manual, it can be a training manual for both the instructor as well as for the client. There's so many materials in here that even if you're just getting started into accent reduction, you could look at all the lessons and pick which ones that you think that your client needs. It makes it very easy to work with it. And then the teaching can also be done from the software. And really what happens is that the instructor assigns all these lessons that the student needs or the client needs. And then during our sessions, we go through them and train right from the website. So just like I'm doing with you right now, screen sharing, that's what we're going to be doing with our clients when we're working with them. Pre and post assessments are included with it. Lesson plans are really easy because they're already there. They're already designed for you. All you have to do is click to assign the lessons, and you can put them in any order that you want to. And Accent Freedom includes all of the client materials, which saves you a lot of time. You don't have to develop these. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The materials are professional looking, and a goal when I wrote this was really to make it use professional vocabulary instead of silly vocabulary. The clients practice their homework right on the website, and they can upload audios to the instructor of their homework. And so the instructor can go over their homework and give them feedback and say, oh, wow, you got 100% on that lesson, or oof, you only got 20% right there. Remember, you need to, whatever it is. And trainers use Accent Freedom as a professional marketing tool. You can show them the program when you're marketing and show them that it's not homemade materials. It's not downloaded audio files. It's very professional and right on the website. There are two sides to Accent Freedom. One is the instructor side, and the second is the client side. So if you become an Accent Freedom instructor, what that means is that you have the ability to use the software with your clients. It doesn't mean that Accent Freedom is going to be handing you clients. It means that you can use this software with them. So when you are an instructor, you have a section of the instructor side. You would have your own pages there that house all of your client materials. So you would have all your client audios and all your client lessons in one place. And then it allows you to choose which lessons to assign to your students. And there's about, I think it's 336 lessons now that are in the program. And you can customize those for the individual clients. And you can add more, you can take them away, however you want to do it when you're training. And it allows the instructor to listen to the audios for the assessments and also to give the homework feedback. So that's with the instructor side. In the essence of time, I'm not going to talk much more about the instructor side. Most of what I'm going to show you today is the client side and what the clients see. So this is all, from now on, this is just what the clients see on their side. So from the client side, the Accent Freedom lessons, they're easy to locate. It's easy to organize the homework assignments. There's practice materials there with over 5,000 audios that are embedded right in the software. So you don't have to go in and record anything for them. It's just right there. The client can listen to the recorded words and sentences. They can record right on the site, and then they can compare their production to the instructors. And then they can upload the files to the instructor for feedback on their homework. So with the assessment, with the Accent Freedom assessment, after you sign your client up, an email is generated that goes right to the client, and they get a link to go to this recording site. And once they go there, all the instructions are there, and there'll be 4 sections that they need to complete. So the 4 sections are 2 sections of saying a word a predetermined word and putting it into a sentence, and then reading a paragraph, and then 2 minutes of spontaneous speech. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. After each section is completed, they upload it to the instructor. And so this makes it really easy for you as the instructor. You don't have to be there while they do the recording. I mean, they could do it at 3 o'clock in the morning and upload it to you, and it's there. You just need to go in and listen to it. And I also do have accent freedom protocol sheets that are available. All right. So what do we look for during an assessment? We're looking for patterns and differences. So some of the things that we might look for are, how are they pronouncing consonants and vowels? For certain consonants, are they substituting a sound for something else? Are they deleting a sound, or just how is it tweaked? Is it a little bit too rounded? Is it not long enough? What's wrong with it? We're looking at blends and consonant clusters. Are they rolling their R's with some of the blends? In English, there are no rolled R's. And or are they not producing the entire cluster? If it's ND at the end of a word, are they just saying in and leaving off the D? So we're looking for, are they saying the complete word? One of the big things that we're looking at is intonation. So we're looking at pitch and stress, the inflections. People from India I am sure you've heard them speak, and it's very flat compared to us. There's a little bit of inflections, but with English, we're more up and down and up and down. And so what we're going to do is really help them get more inflections into their communication, into their speech, and so it can be more understandable. We don't want the flat speech, and we also want to help them correct the syllable stress, knowing which syllable to stress in a word, and then also knowing which word to stress in a sentence. So we're taking on both of those. Another big thing is speech rate. We're looking, are they talking too fast? Are they talking too slow? And believe it or not, I have a lot of clients that come in, especially from China, who they talk so fast you cannot understand them at all. And a lot of it is because of the speech rate. And they tell me that they were taught that the faster you speak, the more intelligent you sound. And so they try to talk really, really fast. And as you know, it just doesn't work to do that, right? There's several lessons in here that we work on speech rate. We're also looking at voice projection and vocal volume. If someone talks like this, it's not portraying a lot of confidence in the business world. So we're helping them project their voice so they're more interesting and show that they have, they sound more knowledgeable and they sound stronger in what they're saying. We're looking for final consonant deletions. So a lot of languages, they will delete the final consonant because in their language, this is mostly in like Mandarin, the other languages too, but they will delete that final sound because in their language, most of the words end in a vowel. So they're trying to apply their rules to English and it's not working. So what we need to do is to help them get those final consonants on there so we know what word they're saying. Another problem that they have is devoicing of the final consonants. So for instance, they would, for a B sound here, they would substitute a P. So for the word crab, they might say crap. Or for the word, the T versus the D, if the word was bad, they might say bat. Or for the K versus the G, if the word is dog, they might say dock. And if the word is buzz, they might say bus. Okay. Another thing that we work on is a schwa insertion. And that's just when they put the sound at the end of words. That kind of goes along with the final consonant deletions because they're thinking that the words have to end in a vowel. And not all American words end in a vowel. So if the word is bad, they might say bada. Or if the word is want, they might say wanta. And the reason that they do that is that they're trying to apply their rules to English. We're also looking at linking, and we're looking at grammar. It's not a grammar class, but if they have something blatant that's standing out with grammar, I'm definitely going to address it with them. All right, now I would like to do a little bit of a demonstration of accent freedom. And remember, this is from the client perspective. So we'll first go over the assessment, and then I'll give you kind of an overview of what lessons are in accent freedom that you can choose from to assign to your clients. If you're new at this, some of what's in these lessons might be new to you. So you'll be learning right along with the clients. That's how I was in the beginning. And then we'll look at the client customized lessons, do a demo of a client session, and then talk about client homework. All right, so here's the page for accent freedom. We're going to log in, and I'm just going to use a dummy account that I have here. So when the client logs in, this is what they see. And step out my way. This is what they see. So they have 4 different programs with accent freedom. So the 4 in here are how to use this program, 4 different courses, I should say, how to use this program. And in this section, if you have a question about some of the features of accent freedom, then this is where you're going to go to look at that. Then we have another course that is the initial recording, and a section called accent freedom. That's where all of the lessons are. And then way down here at the bottom is another one, the final recording. And the instructor has access to this. So when the client is done with the initial recording, they can take this course down. And so the screen is not cluttered up as much. And in the beginning, maybe they choose not to put the final recording up there just to keep it off the page until they're ready to use it. All right. So to do the assessment, when the client gets here, they're just going to click on number 1 to do their assessment. And this just says welcome. And then the next thing here is how to use the program. Next, they just keep clicking next through the program, and it'll talk about system requirements, what they have to use Firefox or Chrome only, and making sure that their microphone is working correctly. And then so there's about the requirements, and then here is about the recording, and then we finally get into the first section. So the first section, this is going to tell them how to do it. There's 28 words, and you click on the microphone over here, click on recording, and you'll see so the first word is shop. So the client's instructions are say the word and put it in a sentence. So what they're going to do is they're going to click record, and they would say shop. I like to shop, or just put it in a very simple sentence, and then click record again, and it stops it. Then they go to the next one, do the same thing. I went to the store yesterday. Click record again to stop it. And they'll go through and do all of these 27 or 28 words. And then what they do is submit this for review. And so you, as the instructor, this is your client, this will get uploaded to your site of your area of the program. And so you have access to listen to that, to analyze it. Then we go to the next section. And same thing here, you're going to have just 28 words, and same thing. Okay, then submit it for review when they're done. And then this one is paragraph reading. So it's the Jesse Owens package or passage here. So they're going to just read the paragraph and they're going to record themselves as they do that. And then when they're done, again, submit it to you as the instructor. And then the very last section is conversation. So they're going to hit record. And they just need to talk for 2 minutes. The recording will shut off after 2 minutes. And they can talk about many different things. They can talk about your education, profession, anything that they want to, but they need to talk for 2 minutes. So you're looking for what's their rate of speech? How are they linking? What sounds are they missing? Is it any different than when they're saying words at the single level? So you get a lot of information from this. And actually, when we do the conversation section, they're using their own vocabulary. So it's really kind of cool. If they're talking about their profession, you can hear words that they're missing. I was working with someone who worked in product development, and he kept saying product development. And he said it so fast with those two words together, I just couldn't get it. And so obviously that was one thing that we really had to work on. And we got a lot of vocabulary just from this 2 minutes of conversation that he did. So submitting it for review. All right, so then that's it. And then we'll go back to this section. So the assessment is uploaded to you. You're going to do the assessment, looking for all the things that we just talked about. And I'm not going to go into that too much, just in the essence of time, but I can teach you how to do this if you want some help with how to do the paperwork and the filling out the protocol sheets and everything. So after you've done the assessment, then you're going to be thinking about, all right, after I've done this, I can see they have problems with this, 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 and this. And so then you're going to go to Accent Freedom and look at all the lessons that are there. So if you expand this out, you can see all of the lessons that are available for you to work with the client. Get into the vowels, and then there's a supplement section. So this is what you'd use probably at the end. It's how to pronounce U.S. cities and states, or common American names, or contractions, numbers. I know they can count, but are they pronouncing 3 correctly? Are they transferring a THR that we worked on over into 3? Or when you get into number placements, I know they know that it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, but once you get into fourth, you're using that TH at the end of words, right? So that becomes a big deal. Are they transferring that into conversation? Fourth, fifth, sixth with the TH. And also months of the year, days of the week, and some tips and some fun things that are there. So there is one thing I want to point out. There is quite a large section for intonation. And as I said, pitch and stress are very, very important when you're working with clients. So let's just show you some of these. So I want to go to syllable stress in words. Sometimes we have to talk about what syllables are too. They're not always familiar with what they are. So we'll talk about the stress patterns, and here are 1-syllable words, and all 1-syllable words have this falling pitch that's here. So they might just say the word call, are, life, but that's not how we would say it. We would say call, are, life, and these are all recorded. Call, are, home, heart. So you can hear that inflection with that falling pitch. And then we talk about 2-syllable words. And so this is where the first syllable stress. So it's doctor, oops, series, bottle. And then we go down to 2-syllable words where the second syllable is stressed.
Suspend. Percent.
And then we get into the 3 syllables and the 4. And this is really the purpose of this is just to show them that there are differences. And when we're teaching, we can show them these stress patterns and talk about them. Just to get them to use more of the inflections. Then all of these are put into sentences. And these are all recorded, so they'd listen.
What are your long-term goals?
Right? And then they would record themselves and they could play it back. And so they could listen to the instructor, listen to themselves, listen to the instructor, listen to themselves. And they can record this as many times as they want, but it's only saved the last time that they record it, the final time. So we're using these sentences are just loaded with the 1-syllable words.
You have a phone call on line 1.
Right. So I want to point out too, these over here, this is how the client marks if they're done with the lesson or if they're still working on it. It defaults to this one. I haven't started this lesson yet. And this is, I'm working on this lesson. And this one is, I finished this lesson. So when we go back to my courses, I'll show you where that shows up. Go back here, I'll show you where it shows up. So they know when they see this means they're working on it. That's part of their homework. So it's very easy for them to identify what their homework is from this. Keep going. Syllables. All right. Then some other lessons that are kind of interesting. I didn't know this before I started doing this work, but it's the rules for noun versus verb syllable stress. So the rule is, if you have a 2-syllable word, most likely, but not 100%, if it's a noun, it's going to be first syllable stress. If it's a verb, it's going to be second syllable stress. So we have words like address versus address, or
Conduct.
versus
Conduct. Consult.
versus.
Consult.
And these words obviously mean different things just by where the stress is. So we're working on those, and then there's a section with sentences. And I usually teach from this page here, and because it's bolded and has the answers, please give me your address so I can address this envelope. It wouldn't be right if they said, please give me your address so I can address this envelope. Or he is content with the content versus he is content with the content. So you can see how it makes a big difference there. I'm sure you've seen these things on the internet. A lot of them go around all the time. So they're all in one place for you to use, and then they're recorded here. Okay, so then they can listen to all these too.
Please record the data on the permanent record.
And then once they get through all of them, then they can submit it to you for feedback on their homework. This one's kind of a fun lesson too. This one is rules for compound noun versus adjective plus noun. So if you have a compound noun, which is 2 words put together, it's usually first syllable stress. But if you have an adjective plus a noun, it's usually second syllable stress. So if we had the word greenhouse, it's where they have plants, right? Versus greenhouse. I might live in a greenhouse. So a researcher who works with plants works in a greenhouse, but he lives in a greenhouse. And I have some clients who will say those backward, and it really frustrates the listener who go, oh, what did he mean? Or this one.
hot dog,
versus,
hot dog.
so it would not be correct to say the hot dog ate the hot dog. The correct thing obviously would be the hot dog ate the hot dog. All right, then these are put into sentences. Also, if you had assigned this lesson for them, you would be putting this, and they know that that's what they need to be practicing. Here's some of the sentences. All right. Now let's go back to my courses again. So I won't go through all of that intonation stuff. That would be pretty boring for you, but you can just see as they expand it out. Some programs out there don't do a lot with intonation, but I feel like the intonation and the inflections are really a big part of accent. So I have tried to include a lot of that into Accent Freedom. A lot of times it's a bigger problem with clients than the actual sounds that they're saying. And then getting in, I already showed you the supplements, getting into the sounds, broke it down into initial, medial, final, blends, and vowels and diphthongs. And let me show you, let's do just a demonstration here with, so this is what you do in a lesson. If you're working on the initial TH, and this is for all of the sounds, there's basically 6 lessons for each of the sounds. So if you have the initial voiceless TH that you found that they're missing, from their assessment, you know what they're doing. Are they substituting the T for the TH? Are they substituting the S for the TH? And so you tell them from the assessment what they're doing wrong. But this first section tells them that this is the sound, this is how to make it. And then if it's mispronounced, it's usually because it's mistakenly pronounced as the T or the S, occasionally the F. And then down here, oftentimes I'll have another section for tips or tricks to help get this sound correct. So this is the first lesson for the sound. Then we go to the contrastive listening, and you can either click next or click the next for any of these to get to the same close. So contrastive listening is like minimal pairs. So with this client, let's say that we know that they are substituting the S for the TH. So in the class, I would say, okay, just listen to the difference. And I can blank this one out. We don't need that because this particular client is substituting the S. So I would say sad, sad, thank, thank. And sometimes I put my hand over my mouth so they can't see the tongue come out for the TH. But just getting them to hear the difference with this. Or if the T is the problem, then we blank that one out and they would do this, and they can, if they're doing this for homework, and they just listen to them, or they can play the role and then play. So they have to be able to hear the difference before they can say the difference. Then we move on to the initial TH words. And I'll show you that in just a second, but I want you to take note of this green section here. And with this program, you can give feedback to your client at the lesson level, or you can give feedback to your client at the word or sentence level. So this is at the lesson level. So I have looked at this client and I told them, you got 50% on this lesson. Make sure you put your tongue between your teeth to pronounce the TH sound, and then see comments by individual words. So remember, this is just a dummy account, so I didn't fully explain this out. But so we go to practice the words. And in this case, the client has already uploaded these to me. So they had listened to the word "I" and recorded it. And then they did thousand, thunder, Thursday, all of those. Then I told them that they got 50% right. So then they come down here to the bottom and they can see that if there's a check mark by a word, that means that they missed that word and that, or there's a comment from their instructor. So thunder, my comment was make sure you put your tongue between your teeth. I heard an S instead of the TH. So then what they can do is they can re-record it and they can resubmit it to me. And then I can give them feedback again to say, oh, okay, now you have 100% on that lesson. So minimal pairs, contrastive listening, and then initial words. Another thing that you can do here is you can show or hide the text. So you can blank it out and you can still click on it.
Thunder. Thursday. Thing.
So this takes away the visual and helps them transfer these skills over into conversation a little easier. When you're in conversation, you don't see the TH in your head while you're talking to someone. So we want to try to get that visualization away that whenever they see the TH here, if they know that they put their tongue between their teeth, but in real life, you're not doing that in conversation. So this helps with the transition. Then we go to the next one. And then the next section, this section is called the initial voiceless TH additional practice words. And in this section, these words are purposely not recorded. So in the initial word, in the word section that we just did, we can take away the visual to make it a little harder. In this section, we can take away the auditory, and they have to say these words without the auditory model. So click here, there's nothing that's going to play. I get so many people that contact me and say, oh, there's a problem with accent freedom in the additional practice words. They don't play at all. Well, they're not supposed to. So they just click it, they record the word, all of these, and then they submit them for review. Now, you can see some of the words in here. Thickener, where's that come from? So thyroid, thicken. So if there's a slant in accent freedom to any profession, there's probably a slight slant to the medical vocabulary. And it really wasn't purposeful, but that's my background. So anyway, all right, so then they would do the additional practice words. And then they can mark what they want to do. Say they've already corrected everything, then they can mark that they're done with it. We move on. The next section is the sentences. So this is the 5th section. So all of these sentences are phonetically loaded with the target sounds.
Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday. The therapist thinks the liquid needs to be thicker. 2,000 people attended opening night at the theater.
Okay, you get the idea. And then they would submit it for review, and then I would give them feedback. You can look at it down here and we can see which ones are checked for feedback. Then we go to the next one. And these are contrastive sentences. So this is taking the correct word and the wrong word and putting it into the same sentence. And this really helps them so they don't overcompensate for that sound, that they realize there's still an F, so there's still a T in these words. They don't all change to the TH. Same thing, they listen to it.
She became sick when she drank the thick drink. Was Thor sore after playing basketball?
And some of these sentences were a little sillier because I had to use particular words in each sentence. So, but yeah. All right, so those are the 6 sections to each of the sounds. So let's go. Here's you remember I said they can mark where they are in the the class thing. So we have, this one is I finished this lesson, this one is I'm working on this lesson, and this one is I haven't started it yet. So when you put these lessons together, this is where they all go. This here are their assigned lessons. So you as the instructor can put them in here in any order that you want them to work at it. And for this is the dummy account, so I have assigned them everything. But you may choose to bounce around a little bit more. I tend to do intonation first and then hit the sounds, or I'll do part of the intonation, do some sounds, then hit some more of the intonation. But I'm building upon everything else. So if I've worked on that TH sound, maybe the very first thing, I'm still working on that TH sound until they get it. All right, so you can see. And you saw how you just click through. So if you have the final B sound, you just keep clicking next. You'll just keep taking you to the next. And it's not the next lesson in Accent Freedom, it's the next lesson that you have assigned. So it's very easy for the clients to see that. And when you're working with a client, because you've already put your assigned lessons in the order that you want to do it, you just hop on here and you teach from the slides, from the lesson, and you just keep clicking next, and marking that working on button. And then that's how they know where to come back and work on their homework. So, let's see. Back. All right, how to choose and order your lessons. And I think the biggest thing is what will make the biggest impact on their speech. So is the rate the biggest thing that is making it so they're not understood? Is the intonation, the voice projection, specific sounds, or is it a combination of them? But that's where you're going to be really concentrating those lessons to start. And you might want to start with a few sounds that are easier or concepts that are easier, just to help them gain some confidence as they're looking through these. So you might start with something very visible, like the TH sound. Or you might have, because you can see that the sound, you might also want to start with counting syllables. And actually that is kind of hard for some people, but for most people, they get counting syllables and can figure out, you know, when you say to them, oh, that word's supposed to be 4 syllables and I heard you say 3 or whatever. So you're helping them count syllables down. So start with something that's going to give them some confidence. And another thing is you want to choose sounds with the highest frequency of English. So they might have missed the sound every time on the assessment, but, and then with maybe the final L sound, they missed it 50% of the time. But you're probably going to work, you are going to work on the final L because it's more, it's used more frequently in English than what the G sound is. So use the sounds that are highest frequency. They're pretty basic to speech pathology. All right, the next thing that we need to do is to determine the class structure. So this will probably be done before you start working with the client, but it is one thing that we need to take into consideration. Most trainers are going to offer a package deal versus billing hourly to clients. It just makes it much cleaner if you can say it's X amount of dollars for so many hours of training versus saying, okay, I'm going to bill you every time at X number of dollars per hour. And it's more work for you. It's more work for the client. And if you are working with a corporation, they're not going to want to do that at all. They're going to want to get one bill. So typically what I do is I bill them at the very beginning of the training. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So the hourly packages, some people do it hourly, Some people will offer a 6-hour package. Some people will offer a 10-hour package. Some will offer an 18-hour package. I offer a 9-hour package and an 18-hour package. And then once they get to, if they choose the 9-hour one, if they can use it to kind of kick the tires, see how they like it. And if they see they're making a lot of progress, then I just have them pay the difference to bump up to the 18-hour package. And I don't penalize them for not signing up for the 18-hour package in the beginning. But yeah, so you can choose however many hours you want in your package. That's totally up to you. This is your business. You do what you want to with it. And also with determining class structure, you need to talk about or think about if you're going to be doing this in an individual, as with an individual or with groups. When you work in corporations, a lot of times you may be working with a group, or sometimes you'll be working with just an individual from the corporation. It just depends. Oh, and the groups for small groups, I usually cap those at 5. I've done 6 before, and it's just a lot of people to see in a group at a time. Length of session. A lot of people ask me this question: how long do you see them, or how many hours for each session? And totally up to you, and it's totally up to the client what they want to do. So they can do 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, even up to 8 hours. Typically, the 8-hour sessions are for groups, and I have done a lot of groups with 8 hours. So if a company hires me, I will go to their company and I'll work for 2 8-hour days and see them in a group setting. So each person's going to get their initial assessment. So it's very customized yet. So each person, I would get on their web page, their client page, and I would set up lessons just for them that are pertinent to them. So people in the group might not have the same lessons that they're working on. Anyway, I wanted to do a whole session on that sometime about how to do group sessions, because I think it'd be very interesting. The length of the session is not set in stone. So if you start off with a client wanting 2-hour sessions, but then, or 3-hour sessions, and then they get to the end, it's like, wow, that was way too much. I think maybe next time we need to back it off to a 1-hour session. Or if they've missed a couple of weeks, they'll say, okay, let's do a 3-hour session just to catch up. So it really depends. The key here is they need to be willing to practice. And we usually tell them that they need to practice at least an hour a day while they're in these lessons. And that's with the software. That said, most people don't do that. But if we can at least get them thinking that they have to practice this, they're not going to improve if they are just taking the lessons and doing nothing else. It's just like learning to play the piano. I can take all the lessons that I want, but unless I practice, I'm not going to make the improvement. Also, how to determine the length of sessions. The client might have a goal of finishing by a certain time because they have an upcoming presentation, or they're starting a new job or an interview. So that needs to be taken into consideration. Sometimes difficult to schedule busy clients, and sometimes we have those clients that just, oh, sorry, 10 minutes before the session, you have I have an important meeting that came up. Like, so sometimes I try to schedule sessions, the longer sessions, just so it's not so much with scheduling. So it's not this back and forth with scheduling. And talking about clients canceling at the last minute, that's something you need to address too, is if they cancel 10 minutes before, they don't give you notice, are they gonna forgo that session? It's just, you need to decide what you're gonna do with your own business, your policy. Frequency of sessions. So how often will you meet? Again, that's personal between you and the client. So it might be 1 time a week, it might be 2 times a week, it might be 2 times a month. It's just really how much this client wants to put into this. And I usually discourage a long time between the sessions unless they have something really important, that maybe a family illness or something like that. But I don't want them to lose the momentum and the excitement for the training. We need to keep this up. And if they're missing a lot of sessions, there's a lot of time between each of the session. I find that I have to go back and review so much with them in between. And it doesn't look good for me as the trainer, and it doesn't look good for them with the progress that they're making. Also, I try not to go any longer than 6 months, unless the client is still actively engaged. And some people might not agree with me with this. They might go a lot longer than this. But I just find that if they're going longer than the 6 months, again, they're kind of losing the momentum and missing a lot of the sessions. And so if I say in my contract that I have with them that they need to be completed by 6 months, it really gets them going on this. All right, so we've done the assessment. I've told you how to assign the sessions, how you go through the lessons. Once you assign those lessons, you just click, 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 go through. Some people will work on maybe you'll get through 10 or 15 lessons per session with the client. So at the end of every session, you're going to put another 10 to 15 lessons up. But other people might want to assign everything that's there for your client. And so that's the way I do it. And then when I get done with working with that client, I know the next time I get on, I'm just going to continue where I left off and just keep going. So after we're done working with the client, they've completed the number of hours that you had said you were going to do, you might want to do a final assessment. And I only do the final assessment if they take my big program. If they sign up for the 9 hours, it's just we go as far as we can in the 9 hours and that's it. But if they've signed up for the 18 hours, they're going to get the final assessment. So what you're going to do is you're going to get back on the website and you're going to assign the final recording course. I showed that to you at the very bottom of the page. And it's just like the initial, except for it doesn't have the conversation part to it. So they're going to go through and they're going to record everything, upload it to you. You're going to do a second assessment, and then you're going to compare, you're going to count the number of errors that are still remaining from the initial assessment. Then you're going to calculate a % improvement score. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the number of errors that were in the final recording divided by the number of errors in the initial recording. So, for example, if someone has, let's start over here, if they have 200 errors in the initial recording, and then they would have 100 errors in the final recording, you divide 100 by 200 and you get 0.5. And then you take 100 minus, this would be 50, right? 0.5 times 100, move decimal point 2 places. So 100 minus 50 is 50%. So they have made 50% improvement. Here's another example. So they made 190 errors in the initial recording. And then they brought it down to 75 in the final recording. And actually, this is the only time that less is better, right? This and golf. Because normally if you're talking about a percentage, wow, everybody wants 100%, right? Well, not in this case. All right, so less errors is better. So 100 times 0.39, so 0.39 times 100 is 39. So 100 minus 39 equals 61 percent. So this person has made 61%. And when we're talking about anticipated improvement, we would like to say people make at least a 50% improvement. Sometimes people make more. I've had one person that got up to 90%. And remember, that's just from pre and post testing. It's not necessarily in full conversation, but she was so motivated and she just did so well. Most of my clients are going to get maybe 65-ish, 60, 65, around in there. But we anticipated an improvement of at least 50%. So much of that, it just depends on how much they practice and what they're working on. So, all right, now let's talk a little bit about documentation, report writing, and invoicing. And with these, with accent work, there's very, very little paperwork. Yay, can we all clap for that? Because it's not a hospital setting or an educational setting, and insurance isn't paying for it. Educators are not looking at our paperwork. Corporations don't want the paperwork. So if you're going to write a final report and you give it to the manager's not going to read through this lengthy report. The manager just wants to know, did they make improvement? Thus the reason for the percent improvement score. So it can at least come out and say, we've, to show that they were at this number and then they went to this number and they improved by X number of percent. Let's back up a little bit. So paperwork for the initial assessment for the report. Some people write a full report in the beginning, some people don't. I am one of those that I don't write a full initial report. What I do is I give them a copy of how I've documented things, and on that it shows them what they have substituted for what, or what sounds they're not making quite right. And then I teach them how to read that. And so then when we are working, we will look at, if we're doing that TH sound again, I'll say, okay, go back to your assessment and tell me, what were you doing for that voiceless TH sound? And that they can, by looking at their assessment, they can say, oh, this is what I was doing. And then for the session, but some people do want to write a first report, and that's perfectly fine. You can do that too. A session documentation, I again do this very simply. Nobody most likely is ever going to see these notes that you write. And so for me, I put the date, I put what we've worked on during the session. I make little notes off to the side that will say, this is what's standing out in his speech today. That he's still having problems with not enough inflection, or he's still having problems with the R sound or the blends or whatever it is. So I make just note of that. And then the last section is just what I'm going to do the next session. So when I'm ready to have the next session, there's really no prep, because I've already got my lessons planned out. Like I said, I do those all at once. And then the other part is that that's popped up. I'm gonna get my mind out of here. So they the lessons are all right there. And then I've written in my notes, this is what I plan to do. So it's very little prep for each lesson. It just makes it very easy to go through here. And then you would do the final assessment. And I do a bigger report for the final assessment. So I would say, we worked on, you made the greatest progress on this and this and this and this, and I list it. And then I would say your percent improvement score is this. And then at the end, but you still need to continue working on X. And so I list out these things, and then I make recommendations, and the recommendation might be to continue on with training, or it might be, let's let you practice on your own for 6 months and then revisit it, or good luck, you're doing great. So they'll do we'll do the final assessment report. And then talking a little bit about invoicing, I mentioned that with invoicing, you're going to, most of the time we're going to invoice them at the beginning when we first start working with them. Sometimes they might, and we'll invoice the entire amount. So sometimes you'll have people that will say, okay, let's do can I break this into installments? And if that's okay with you, sure, fine. But corporations are not going to want that. Corporations are going to want it as simple as possible. They're only going to want one bill. And sometimes they aren't gonna pay it until you're halfway through the training, but, so the invoicing is really very, very easy, and there's usually no hassles with it. So much easier than having to go through insurance and denials and pre-approvals. There's none of that with this. All right, for a recap. Speech professionals have many skills from their communication training background. And with the right tools, such as using Accent Freedom, the transition from working with traditional speech clients to working with accented English speakers is really not difficult. So we can help you make this transition as easy as possible with Accent Freedom. I hope you can see that from the slides that I've had here from the presentation, that all the materials are here. You just need to put them in place with your client. So I'd be happy to help you with this. Accent Freedom is a comprehensive accent reduction program. It's a professional business tool to help you provide services to your own clients. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The lessons are there for you and your clients. And it's also a tool to help you easily attain a new revenue stream without having to write your own assessments and training materials. So, how do you become an Accent Freedom instructor? And again, an Accent Freedom instructor, it's not that I'm going to be handing you clients or anything. You're still responsible for doing your own marketing. But an Accent Freedom instructor is somebody who understands how to use the program and is using this software with their own clients. So to start this, contact me, and my contact information is right here, and you and I can discuss your needs and see what's best for you. If you want to look at the Accent Freedom website, it's accentfreedom.com. And how it works is, if you decide you want to become an Accent Freedom instructor, you'll contact me, and I first will set you up as a student. And so you'll get to view everything from the student side, the side that I showed you. And after you have a pretty good understanding of the lessons and you feel comfortable, it might take you a day to do it. It might take you a week to go through it, feel comfortable. It's really up to you. After you're done with that, then I will change you over to instructor. And then I'll teach you how to use the instructor side of things, how to listen to the audios, how to give feedback on the audios, how to assign the lessons, all of those things that the instructor would have access to from the instructor side. So the pricing for it, it's $150 per year for a subscription to Accent Freedom. And then it's $150 for each per year for each of your client subscriptions. So you, as the instructor, just sign up your students right on the website, and you pay for them, and then you in turn just you collect that money from your client when you invoice them. And some people will break it down and say, this is my price for doing the training, and then this is the price for the materials. Other people just give a whole package price and say that this is what's included with it. Because you're attending this today, or you're listening to it as the webinar, since it's being recorded, I'm giving a 10% discount that's available to attendees or viewers of this webinar. So just please mention the code AF 2023 to me, and you'll get your 10% discount on your instructor subscription.